702.
Health and wellness.
25 minutes before 12 o'clock on our health and wellness feature this morning, we're talking about processed foods. How much of that do you take in your household? As I said, we've got them for breakfast. We pack them in our lunch boxes. For our kids as well, by the way, and we enjoy dinner maybe on Fridays, or maybe for you it's Wednesdays or Mondays when we don't want to cook. But processed meats, you know, whether it's even bacon or ham or Viennas, are sort of classified as group 1, right? Quite cancer causing is how they define them by the World Health Organization. So you've got high poverty levels and affordability driving many South Africans towards these ultra processed, energy dense foods that are contributing to obesity, to malnutrition, and significant healthcare costs. So for safety's sake, experts are actually advising us to reduce processed meat consumption, focusing on plant-based meals and choosing a simpler, meat products. So I'd like to know from you how often you consume processed meats. Are you aware of the dangers that they cause? Give us a call on 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's 072-702-1702. Mbali Mapholi is a dietitian who's going to guide us through this chat. Thank you for making time, Mbali. Good morning.
Good morning, Clement. Thank you for having me this morning.
What exactly counts as processed meat?
Obviously, processed meats are the types of meats that have been preserved. Usually it's through smoking, curing, adding salt, or adding preservatives as well. That is to help extend the shelf life and also sometimes to even improve flavor of these meats. So as you were mentioning, your bacon, ham, those are the examples: Russians, Viennas, polony, salami, and even exactly. So even your corned beef, which is normally in a can, those are types of meats that we classify as processed meat.
Okay. And why has the World Health Organization then classified some of those you've mentioned, your bacon, ham, Viennas, and the rest, as cancer causing? What's the concern there?
Yeah, the World Health Organization classifies these processed meats as group 1, what they say, carcinogenic or carcinogen or cancer causing, as you're saying, meaning that there is evidence that it's directly linked to an increased cancer risk if one consumes these meats often. Especially it's more the colorectal cancer, which is the cancer of the large intestine down to the rectum. And there is, this is based on decades of research linking, as I said, the regular consumption of these foods. So it seems to be similar strength to the evidence available for using alcohol, but obviously not the same level of risk, but similar in terms of them, the processed meats being at a high cancer causing sort of like risk. That's why they are on group 1 by the World Health Organization.
I see. So what advice then do you have for us? Should we not touch these processed meats at all, or how much of this is considered risky to eat regularly so we can manage ourselves?
Clement, your listeners are not going to like me much because the quantity is very minimal. So we're looking at about 50 gram a day, which will be, let's say, 2 slices of bacon, 1 Vienna, 1 Russian.
A day?
A day.
That's not bad.
And so anything above that, if you consume every single day, that definitely increases your colorectal cancer. So, it's not bad, but I think it adds up because when you look at it practically, even if you were to consume this quantity, as I've mentioned, a day, say you consume them every single day, then I think it adds up by 30 days. You consume quite a large amount that then it would say it increases your risk of colorectal cancer. But not to say you never touch. I think it's very important that I highlight that. And I think as a dietitian, automatically people don't like what we say because it's like avoid. But not to say you never touch, but just to be aware. And it can be food items or the protein choices that you go for every single day.
Okay, so then what sort of breaks should I have? And I'm asking this for maybe someone who every single day they do want to have bacon. they do want to have
Yes.
a Vienna or a Russian for breakfast, and that's like sort of what they have or they pack for their
Yeah.
kids. So should
Yeah.
you maybe do that on a Monday and again on a Wednesday and Friday, and then between Tuesday and Thursday maybe try something different? What
Yes,
breaks should we
100%.
allow?
Yeah, I don't know, but I know some families will do isipatlo or ikota maybe like on a Friday
Yes.
as their version like of takeout. So something like that will help to give it a break. But then also, as you were mentioning, like we live in tough economic times, so we want to be also mindful that I don't say that, okay, as a protein alternative now, people must always have like a rotisserie chicken, they must always have salmon. But things like eggs or pilchards or sardines in a can can be good protein sources to sort of substitute these processed meats. Even chicken livers or even peanut butter. We mustn't look down upon peanut butter. It can be a good source of protein in right quantity. So those are the things we can use to add on our lunch boxes for children as well, instead of just everyday Polonian bread every day. Let's do alternative. Let's do egg mayo or chicken mayo using leftover chicken from a night before, so that these sandwiches are not always with just Viennas and Polony every day.
Okay. What is it about these preservatives that make these kind of foods harmful?
It's particularly your what we call nitrites and nitrates. They help preserve the meat, obviously, but with studies have shown that when they are heated, you see, like, most people love a nice crunchy, juicy Russian that has been heated in quite high heat. That becomes a problem because they form what we call nitrosamines, which are basically the cancer-causing compounds. So that is a problematic thing about these preservatives. In itself, these preservatives are not necessarily harmful to say or per se, but like once you heat them up, then that's where these sort of cancer-causing compounds come to be. But also besides the preservative part, because I think people hearing about preservatives, they can get scared and think, oh, all the food we eat has preservatives. But also processed meats are high in saturated fat and they're high in salt. That's just another problem, because that in itself means besides cancer, right, if consumed regularly, they increase our risk of high cholesterol, high blood pressure, which are already chronic diseases that we are in trouble of as South Africans. So I think even if we are not thinking cancer, which I think most people consider very scary, but just looking into the high salt and the high saturated content, fat content in these processed meats, that in itself is problematic.
Okay. 011-883-0702. WhatsApp's on 072-702-1702. How much of processed meats do you actually take? How cautious are you trying to be? Also, when you are preparing, lunch boxes, not just for yourself, but for your kids as well.
Hi, Clement. Lavoya from Rudiport. With your topic in terms of processed meats, I eat them a lot. And yes, I am aware of the dangers. But Clement, you're talking about meat that is nice. So I adopt this approach of, we're all gonna die eventually. So I just pray not to get cancer. But with the history of no cancer, I'm hoping by the time I get cancer from processed meat, I'm in the grave. Yeah. Thanks.
He's just hoping, Mbali. He's just hoping. Of course, what we eat, Mbali, is influenced by many other factors.
Yes.
Poverty, food affordability, that influence what we eat. So how do we make this? Because sometimes there's great advice that comes around the dangers of certain foods, but then some people are probably listening and thinking, I just don't have money for all these other options that I'm told I need to have. So are there any other affordable options that you can advise our listeners to also consider?
Yes, I do agree with that. That when it comes to food affordability, we are in trouble. When money is tight, people will prioritize just filling our stomachs and just we want something quick. that last long as well. You don't want to be buying every second day. You want foods not just going to stay long in the fridge. So it's a valid point. But what I always say is that we can always do, as you're saying, what can we swap with? Like, for example, instead of Vienna's every day, if we have a 30 eggs in the household, let's. It doesn't mean we don't eat Vienna's because they are obviously cheaper, but maybe let's alternate. Today it's Vienna's, the following day it's eggs. Let's do frozen fish fingers, for example. They are also like an affordable protein option that we can alternate these processed meats with. Also, when we look into how can we, maybe let's say we are cooking meals in the house, we can expand it by adding a can of lentils into the meals. Then it expands and can feed the family even more, and then we'll have leftovers to take to work the following day. Those are the things we can do. If we are cooking chicken, a full chicken, when you roast it, the white meat that usually most people don't like to eat, the chest meat, let's take that and just mix it up with mayo, and then that's going to be for, again, lunches, for sandwiches the following day, or even for wraps the following day. Those are the things we can do to help the rand expand, obviously, without us relying on processed meats every day. Frozen, as I said, fish fingers, eggs also. But even simple things as I'm going to mention again, peanut butter, because it's looked down upon, but it can be a good protein source. Like, it's okay. But it's okay, Clement, to have peanut butter and bread. It's okay.
Oof. What else apart from peanut butter? What else?
Listen though, I have another option. I mean, I know you are a gym person.
Yeah.
Peanut butter with apple slices. That's bougie.
With
or
apple
peanut butter
slices.
with banana. You must try it. It's perfect. A nice snack. You must try it.
I'll give it a shot. Here's another voice note.
Morning, Clement. Mike here from Joburg. Your guest this morning that's talking about the carcinogenic levels of processed foods. The way she describes processed foods as if it's been preserved in any way. I would like her to tell South Africans, any South African for that matter, that biltong is going to cause cancer if you eat too much of it. I don't think that one's going to fly.
How bad is biltong for us, Mbali?
No. Biltong, as it is, because it's cured in a different form, is not necessarily in the same category as your Viennas and your polony. Because remember, this is normal meat that is just dried, and then obviously it is high in salt because salt is added to cure it or to make sure that we preserve it. But as in itself, especially in a country where biltong can be a nice high protein snack, it doesn't get in the processed meat category, as I was mentioning the examples. And also, I think also for your listeners to emphasize that we're talking about processed meats, not necessarily processed foods in general, because it's they are complete different things. But yeah, biltong can be a fantastic protein addition, especially if we go for like lean biltong, your venison, your ostrich type of biltong, because those ones are lower in saturated fat.
Oh, got it. Well, what should people, would you advise that we look out on labels when we're buying meat, and what should we look out for exactly? Because Tina, some of us we get into the grocery store and all you do tatizindo that you always get and you're out.
I mean, it helps to look into the label to see. Particularly, you're looking for processed meats that will be lower in sodium, lower in salt. Most of them will be very high in salt compared to what the World Health Organization recommends. But then you look for lower salt option. But also, if you really when we are eating processed meats, we are looking for a protein source usually. So ask yourself when you're reading the label, how much protein is in this food item per 100 gram? You are looking for at least about 8 to 10 minimum of protein per 100 gram. This is typical of what an egg. One egg protein is about 8 to 10 grams. In that way, already you are saying to yourself, okay, at least if I'm getting per serving an equivalent to what an egg gives me, that's a decent protein. Then also saturated fats. When we see on the labeling, we'll normally see total fats, but then below that it will say unsaturated fats and saturated fats. How much of it is saturated fats? If it's more than 10 grams, then we know that processed meat is problematic in terms of its label. But also, I think this one goes without saying, on the ingredients list, you at least want to see meat as a main ingredient amongst other things. But if something doesn't even have meat in the first few ingredients, then we must know that we are in trouble with that processed meat item that we are consuming.
Okay.
Clement, it's funny you should mention economic challenges as far as eating processed meat is concerned. But what I've observed here in the township where I'm staying, people who don't have money, who don't work, or who only depend on grants and stuff like that, the level of consuming these processed meats only go as far as kota or spatlo, but the people who have money, who are working, I work for the Department of Health, and I see it even with some of my colleagues here. You look at their lunch boxes, more often than not, you would find a sausage in there, Russian Vienna, smoked ribs and stuff like that. And they're the ones who also buy the packs. Someone who's selling these packs, maybe cheese vorse or whatever, in packs, and then they can even take it kaskoloto and pay later. So it's safe to say or to assume already those who have a little bit of money can afford to buy these in bulks or in bulk, and then in their refrigerators you'll find a lot of this stuff, which is ironic, because in the department that I'm working for, we're supposed to be talking or teaching patients not to eat these kind of meats. But maybe that's a topic for another day. All right, great show, Clement.
Hi, Clement. Thank you so much for your guest, Mbali. She has enlightened me. My 3-year-old does not like processed meats. From when he started eating solids till now at the age of 3, he doesn't like Vienna, polony, Russians, all those. And I asked him, why don't you like it? And he's like, I don't know, I just don't like it. I'll no matter how nice I make it, he will not eat it. Could it be that he's able to taste the preservatives?
Could it be, Mbali?
Could it be? We don't know. But I'm glad we got a female listener there. I was starting to think that male listeners are not liking this no processed meat conversation.
So there's someone else who's asking about going like plant-based, that diet. Is it necessary to stay healthy? Is that something you advise?
I mean, plant-based diets, they are a way of eating where people eat more plants. I think the confusion sometimes is that when we say plant-based, it means completely no meat, but it just means in your diet, in your plate every day, what takes majority of your plate will be veggies, will be plants, will be legumes. But is it the only way of us eating and eating healthy? Not necessarily, no. People can eat meat and still, so long as they still get enough fiber, get enough antioxidants from plants and still be healthy. It's not to say it's the sort of the holy grail of diets, no. But based on what the World Health Organization, the Department of Health in South Africa recommends, then we somewhat say to make your life easier, if you go plant-based, you almost know for the fact that you are eating foods that are nourishing your body. But then also we must be mindful that certain food items will be labeled plant-based, but then you look into the actual ingredient or the nutrition panel, you find that yes, this item is labeled plant-based, but it's high in saturated fat, it's high in salt. So this is where listeners need to be wise about it, to say plant-based doesn't mean it's something you buy, it just means your plate has more plants, which is anyway the advice that we always give, that half of our plate needs to be vegetables, and then your protein, and then your starch as well. So is it the diet? Not necessarily.
Okay.
Not necessarily,
Hi, Clement and Mbali. Could you please explain to me the water that they inject in chicken and into some meats? Does that also contain nitrates? I've been wondering about that for a while. Thank you. Oh, also, if you know where a person can get bacon, for example, that does not have those things in. Thank you. Bye.
Clement, you should bring an agriculturalist or somebody working in the farm for that specific question. I'm not gonna, because also I think we won't be able to expand on it further. And there's so much nuance around that I don't want to get into and be in trouble.
But are there alternatives, like, because there's bacon, there's macon, are there alternatives, or what you're advising is, no, do take your bacon, just don't do it every day. Don't eat it every day.
Yeah, if you're a person who wants to fry up every day with bacon, we are saying that, today have a fry up with bacon. The following day, just add avo and eggs, no bacon, like that. The following day, just do cottage or like cheese or cottage cheese or cream cheese and add your smoked salmon if you want to be a little bit bougie there. Those are the things, not having fried eggs and fried bacon or bacon every single day, because that's where the problem begins in terms of all of that being now the high intake of those processed meats being the cancer risk we are talking about. But I don't want to scare your listeners into eating. I'm a dietitian who believes that if we become strategic about what we eat, we can literally eat anything, even ikota, it can be part of a healthy diet, or fed cooks with whatever that you eat them with smoked fish can be part of your healthy diet. We don't have to be scared of food. We just have to be aware and then know the balances of how much of what do we take at what times of the week.
Yeah. Koketo says, Clement, please can you ask Mbali, they're having pill charts in a tin twice a week. Is that bad for me?
Oh, that's fantastic. Having pill charts twice a week means you are getting your omega-3 recommendation for the week. I encourage do that, or if you are tired of pill charts, do sardines as well. Those are fantastic sources of omega-3. The recommendation is 2 servings a week minimum.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, so you're good. Mbali, thank you so much for making time for us. Mbali Mapholi is a dietitian.